They wanted Larry to offer to give his kidney to Richard Lewis.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
That's the same way I feel about this. Like, I don't really want to do it.
Right.
Inevitably, I will, and then maybe somebody else will just write it anyway for me.
Maybe I can get someone else to do it.
Yeah, I can't.
That'd be pretty sweet.
I can't write anymore, man. That's a dead medium to me.
Me too. Yeah.
And I already do the written or the verbal deeper dive.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA strategy show. I'm back taking over for AK Adam Kaufman today. He'll be with you tomorrow to close out the week. I am Dave Loughran at Laffy_D, LOUGHY_D, joined by Josh Engleman at Josh Engleman. What's going on, fella?
I assume you just introduced me. I can't hear a damn thing. These stupid AirPods are just dying on me.
We're doing this again.
I'm switching to, these headphones are dead too. All right, I'm putting you on my speakers. Give me a second.
All right.
Good God.
We're doing this again. Glad to have all of you guys with us. As always,
I can hear you.
Hit that thumbs up. It is the easiest way to help support us here on the show. It only takes one brief second, one split second of your lives that, maybe you can't get it back, but you won't miss it. And subscribe to the channel as well. Only like 50% of people that watch the show are actually subscribed to the channel. So subscribe. And if you hate it, if you hate us, if you can't stand the look of Josh's or my face, unsubscribe. Forget you ever saw us. But until then, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up. And I say we dive into this one. Are you good to go?
Yeah, I guess I'm good to go. I can hear you coming through the speakers. As long as there's no recoil from that, I think we'll be fine.
I don't hear an echo. You should be all right.
Well, perfect. I don't know what's going on with these AirPods, man. I don't do anything other than sit at this stupid desk and put them in my ears. So maybe I need to just buy another pair again. I don't know. How long has it been since I've had these? When did you buy the AirPods Pro and not like them? How long ago was that?
I don't know. I've had 3 pairs of AirPods now.
This is number 3 as well. I mean, it's probably like a year and a half easy at this point.
Wait, you've gone through 3 pairs already?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. I got them. My wife got them for me was it my birthday? Was it Christmas? I don't know.
I can't remember. I know you hated them, and then I got them like shortly after that.
Yeah, I hated those, and I just returned them for the other ones with the or the wireless charging, but the normal look.
I might have to go buy these like today.
What's that?
I might have to go buy these new ones like today.
Yeah, it's crazy that I keep buying something that continues to break on me, but here I am.
They're so good.
They're great. They're great when they work.
Yes, that's a great way to describe it.
They should have lasted longer for me, for sure. Like there's no reason I essentially what I do is I go through a pair a year.
Yeah.
But it's not
ridiculous, by the way.
What's that?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not that crazy. It's probably like $13 a month or something like that, but it's still not great. It's probably like a little bit more than that.
I'm not trying to rent my headphones.
All right. Well, anyway, we got to dive into this one because, we got about 51 minutes to go. Starting next week, though, I think we're going to make it so we got a little bit of extra time here on the show. Give ourselves a little bit more runway, not have to worry too much about coming up short every single time. But first, Josh, let's do a little bit of lineup study here. See what happened last night on that Wednesday 9-gamer. Anybody we know coming in up top?
Royal Pain 21.
Oh, yeah. Big fan.
Yeah. Royal Pain took it down. Chedabisk, Papa Gates, Chipotle, Brick, all in the top 10. I know Tom finished I think 3rd, maybe 4th on FanDuel. Not something that we could look into, but I know that he had a pretty high showing.
He wins a lot.
I had a really decent day. I just couldn't get the pieces together again. Tons of top 1%, 2%, 3% lineups, just not the right sort of combination of those things. Anyway, Royal Pain, top of the heap. TJ McConnell, who smashed today or yesterday.
I mean, it just can't make it up, bro.
You really can't.
Can't make it up. You know where I'm going with this. Terrible the day before. Very next day, TJ McConnell, what do you have, 15 assists?
Yeah.
Monster game from TJ McConnell.
Only 4 assists or only 4 turnovers. So he finally, maybe all of those minutes were high leverage minutes for him.
I believe in the final 4 minutes, TJ McConnell had 0 turnovers, but we can go back and fact check that.
Marcus Smart, for 6K. Pogaszewski went for 40. Jakar Sampson in here at 3K, went for 24, which was fine. Okongwu was the pay down center you really wanted to get to. He went for 33 at 3,100. Westbrook went for 68. Kyle Anderson, slow-mo, went for 43. And then Nikola Jokic, a pedestrian, 51. That was enough to take down 100K.
No Batadze?
No Okongwu over Batadze.
Right. That's kind of interesting to me because Batadze ownership was obviously one of, if not the highest on the slate.
Yeah.
And that game saw, I'm sure you noticed this, but that game did not go to overtime. 141 to 137. 278 points in regulation there, Josh. And Batadze, I mean, he didn't have a huge game, but
he should have.
Yeah, but the thing is though, he at that price he was fine. What did he have? Like 28, 29 DraftKings points?
30 and a quarter.
Oh, did he get over 30?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, never mind. He hit 2 threes. There's your answer. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just eyeballing it right here. So there was a lot. This is funny too, though. And then we can actually jump into the slate, use this as a launch pad into today's slate. It's what you and I were discussing yesterday, that when value comes out, everything changes, especially the look of how many people are going to some of these high-end players and how many of those high-end players you can put in one lineup at the same time. So you have Okongwu and you have Goga Batadze, both of these guys dirt cheap coming out. And now you're looking at value options that we had none of earlier in the day. So the slate can completely change dramatically with a couple pieces of news, a couple core pieces of news throughout the day. And of course, the Miles Turner news and the Okongwu news was pretty significant.
Yeah, absolutely massive. I mean, Goga went from a guy that no one was on at all to a 68% owned play last night at the flat 3K.
Yep.
It changes that changes the entire scope of the slate. We had 3 centers at either 3K or 3,100 that were getting like 20+% ownership, with Goga clearly leading the charge. I really liked Okongwu yesterday, but to figure out how many minutes that were going to get played by the centers for Atlanta was kind of difficult. They could have just all played like 16 minutes and it wouldn't have been all that surprising. They ended up giving 32 minutes to Okongwu. He got only his second start of the season, but we're talking about a top level draft pick for the Hawks. Seeing him, I mean, they got absolutely smacked too, but that's neither here nor there. 6 of 12 from the field, 11 boards. I mean, this guy's going to be a part of their future. I'm really anxious to see where they go with it. When you're missing Clint Capella and Danilo Gallinari and John Collins and DeAndre Hunter, like, I don't want to just pay attention to the result, but I'm really anxious to see what they get out of Okongwu moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So am I. And one other thing, this is a conversation we also had, the whole Russell Westbrook deal. He still went for 70 plus yesterday or something.
68.5.
68.5. He still went for a monster game with Bradley Beal back.
He took 11 shots.
Yeah, right. Well, the peripherals on this guy, he's seriously the most reliable fantasy player right now that there is.
15 assists and 14 boards.
Yeah, it's absurd. Those numbers are out of control, man.
Yeah.
What he had 23 points?
Yeah. Here are his last, 10 plus fantasy days. 68, 62, 52, 50, 70, 94, 60, 58, 40, 70, 82, 62. I mean,
yeah.
Only one of those days you're like, shit, that one's going to kill me.
Right. So you'll get that one rogue bad game, and then you'll get a couple where it's like the 50 to 55 isn't great, but it probably isn't the reason you lost. And then you have days where if you don't have Westbrook, and many of those, you just close your computer.
You ready for this? Here are his rebounding totals in those games. 14, 14, 14, 11, 15, 14, 19, 18, 4, 13, 15, 14. And pretty much all of those games, he also has 12 to 15 assists.
When was the first game on there? Like, so you're going back. What was the first game on there? I just want to pull something up.
March 17th is just where the end of the list that I see on Fantasy Cruncher. I can keep scrolling down and get him another 59, another 80-point fantasy game.
I'm curious about the rebounds because before we dive into these games, I wanted to see on stats or NBA.com stats, you can look up rebound chances, right? And I want to see where he ranks among centers. I bet over the past month, he is probably top 15 in the league. And
I mean, he's got double digits in rebounds in his last 8 games and in 11 of his last 12.
It's insanity. So rebound chances for Russell Westbrook, 16.5 per game, which goes to show you too that this guy, if he gets a rebound chance, he's sandwiched in between Bam Adebayo and Nikola Vucevic.
The part that bothers me the most is that people see these like DFS stats and fantasy stats and think he's good, and he's not good.
I think even Adam bought into that for a little while, but my thinking is that was his fandom for the Washington Wizards.
Like, he's been better than I was expecting, but he's not good.
Well, they're not winning games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and don't get me wrong. Let's be fair to Russell Westbrook. The rest of that team is not very good, especially when Bradley Beal is out. But he hasn't done enough to win games, on his own. So
agreed.
All right. Hey, let's dive into this one. Double R, welcome to the Awesemo team, brother. If you guys want, you can hit that join button down there. It's $2.99 a month. It's nothing, but instead of a super chat, I like seeing you guys join. So, appreciate all your super chats. But if you were going to toss a few bucks at us, I'd say join, do something for yourself. Grab the badges, grab the emojis, have some fun with it. And I like to see that for sure. And then Tupelo Joe, thank you for the super chat. Double R with a super chat. Never doubting a Josh tout after not having JB cost me $30K. Well, if you play the what if game, I can assure you, make you feel better that there are a lot of people that may be ahead of you in that same contest that are saying the same thing, that are saying, well, if I did this, I would have been up top, right? So yeah, the what if game is a tough one to play, Josh, because you're not the only one playing it.
Hey, breaking news. The Magic plan to waive Khem Birch.
Huh. It's actually kind of odd.
I expect him to get signed by someone.
Huh. Well, we'll pay attention, see where he goes. Let's dive into this slate, though. Lakers and Miami. The LA Lakers, they should be healthy outside of the LeBron and Anthony Davis. So Kyle Kuzma, Andre Drummond probable. They're 8-point dogs in Miami. 204 total. We have seen a lot of totals just progressively get lower throughout the season. And that makes sense, right? You're going to deal with injuries. There's a lot of factors that play into this. But this game feels like one where there isn't a ton to feel fantastic about. Yeah. Now, I get that Kyle Kuzma has played pretty well. Although, did you see how poorly he shot the other night? I'm assuming you did.
I certainly did not.
He had 8 points in 35 minutes, Josh. 8 points in 35 minutes on 3 for 13 shooting, 2 from 11 from the field or from the 3-point line. He didn't get to the free throw line once.
What? I don't understand why they never traded him.
I don't know. He was 3 for 13. He had 8 points in 35 minutes on a Lakers team that doesn't have LeBron and doesn't have Anthony Davis, and they won.
Dude, he's averaging 0.86 fantasy points per minute over the last 30 days. That is all without those guys.
Right. So what are we doing with the Lakers?
Not playing pretty much all of them. They look terrible. They look absolutely terrible on DK. This total is bad. This DFS matchup is bad. Like, you can have a little bit of Drummond, Schroeder, and Kuzma on DraftKings, but I'm talking like 5% at best. On FanDuel, it's a little bit different. I still don't know what they're doing with Andre Drummond or his minutes. He's supposed to play today. Your guess is as good as mine if he plays 14 minutes, 20 minutes, 24 minutes, 32 minutes. I don't know. I have no idea. They said that he's going to play starter minutes a week ago. We've seen him play once, rip a toenail off, and basically hasn't been on the floor since. I like him as a value option at 5,200. He's worth rolling the dice because when Andre Drummond is out there, he's a fantastic per minute fantasy performer. Kuzma, I guess, for 7K on FanDuel looks okay just because of the position. I can't imagine really wanting to roster all that much from the Lakers. It's guys that aren't very good that have already been priced up to what their ceiling prices are. I don't see a ton of ceiling on any of these guys.
Andre Drummond has the oddest injuries. He really does. From avocados to toenails. I look at that one game that we have. We only have one game of him, right? With the Lakers. It was on the 31st of March. He played 7 minutes in the first quarter. And then he played 6 minutes in the second quarter. Mind you, this injury occurred in the third, but correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, and I'm just looking at Popcorn Machine because I don't remember his rotation from over a week ago. Forgive me. It's showing him not starting in the third, but Montrezl Harrell starting. And then he played 1 minute and 33 seconds, about 2.5 minutes into it, and then left. So I'm assuming that this happened late in the second because there was only like 30 seconds left and he didn't play the last 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then came in and was like, I'm going to try and play, and then left after a minute and a half.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So he would have. So the point I'm making here then is he would have started the third. He played 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He played 12 minutes in the first half. Mm-hmm. So assuming he closed a close game out against Milwaukee, you're looking at 24, maybe a couple more minutes than 24 minutes. But if you just prorate that first half, you're talking 24-minute rotation for the game.
Yeah, and then I gave him those 24 minutes. He showed up in my optimal lineup 14% of the time on FanDuel. That's a really nice value because he's like a 1.3, 1.4 fantasy point per minute guy. That's a guy you want, even if it is limited minutes. And it's just there's so much volatility here that ownership will really dictate the decision. If he ends up really chalky, there's a decent chance that I'm not confident in it unless we hear something about his minutes. If he ends up not chalky, then I would really like to play a lot of Andre Drummond. You just have to pay attention to it. This is one of the more volatile spots on the slate today.
Right. Now, Jimmy Butler on the other side of this one, of course, he's just a very good basketball player. You would agree. But I think at this rate, with Miami completely healthy and Victor Oladipo in South Beach, certainly not someone that's going to siphon off too much usage from him, but Jimmy Butler doesn't necessarily thrive on usage. He's somebody that does it all in a multitude of ways. I think $9K on DraftKings is a little bit pricey for him. Maybe you disagree, but in this spot, low total, I'm not sure I want to pay that much for Jimmy Butler when there are a few other really solid pay-up options today.
Yeah, so on DK, I don't want to pay up for anything here. Butler, 7.5% in the optimal is the highest mark for DK. Like, this game just truly does stink. You should not be rostering guys from Miami and the Lakers. There are spots that you can get to on FanDuel because of the forced nature of having to play two guys at every position. So I actually like Jimmy Butler quite a bit on FanDuel because there's enough value out there. And like the upper tier doesn't really exist today. So Butler actually showed up in the optimal 19% of the time on FanDuel. I'm projecting him lower than my normal rates because of this defensive matchup and the slow nature of the game. I'm projecting him lower than he's been in the last 30 days, but he still shows up in the optimal 19% of the time just because of having to roster two at every position. So Butler on FanDuel is the only thing that I could really advocate for from Miami. And Butler and Drummond are really the only two things that I actually care about in this game.
Okay. Let's move on then. I think we can spend some time, or better spend our time on some other spots. The Chicago Bulls and Toronto Raptors. The Bulls ended up taking down the shorthanded Pacers last game with like a 16-point win. Now they've got the Raptors. So you know how I feel about Toronto. Enigmatic team, one of my favorite words. They are unpredictable. You never know which way the wind's blowing when it comes to the Raptors, Josh. 218 total. They're 3.5-point favorites at home. They will be without Van Vliet. They will be without Kyle Lowry, without Rodney Hood. But first, we're going to start with the other team and the Chicago Bulls. It looks like everyone's pretty healthy for this one, at least the guys that matter. Do you go back to someone like Markkanen? Do you look to Zach LaVine at 8K? Do we have anybody here, maybe even Nikola Vucevic, coming off a monster game once again? Man gets no respect. He's like Rodney Dangerfield. Do we go to Nikola Vucevic here against Toronto? Talk to me about the Bulls.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty clearly Zach LaVine at the top of the heap. He's 7,200 on FanDuel, 8K on DraftKings. Still going to play big minutes. Rates have been down at least a little bit. He's still a fantasy point per minute guy, and I think he's underpriced given what his ceiling is. Showed up in the optimal lineup on FanDuel 27% of the time, 15% on DK. That is without question my top option. I think Vooch looks a little bit better for 9,100 on DK in comparison to the $9,900 price tag he has on FanDuel. Patrick Williams plays about 30 minutes a game, looks like an okay value. We saw Kobe White play a ton of minutes in his return, got over 30. I don't think that's the likely scenario every time out. I gave him 26. Doesn't really make him all that interesting on FanDuel, but on DraftKings at 4,200, he is much more in play. Markkanen was having a great game, but look at the minutes over the last 3. He plays like 22 minutes, 23 minutes a game. At that time, like at that rate, I don't know what the upside is for Markkanen unless he falls into additional minutes. And I don't think that he's going to. I think that Thad Young would get those minutes before Markkanen would. So Levine on FanDuel, unquestionably one of my top plays, certainly a top 10 guy on the day. I like him quite a bit at 8K on DraftKings as well. After that, it's more of a mix and match. Vooch, Kobe White, Satoransky, Patrick Williams. You can mix and match those guys.
So we may have a major violation here in chat. You heard me. I said no respect. He's like Rodney Dangerfield. And Anthony Marcus says, he's like who? So then I say, are you serious, Anthony Marcus? He says, very. That's a violation, Josh.
So I'll say this much.
Don't defend him.
It's not that I'm defending it. It's not a who. I mean, like, the things that I have seen Rodney Dangerfield be in are fantastic. He's exceptional in Caddyshack and Back to School. I don't know a ton about him otherwise.
But you know who he is.
Yeah. Of course.
Okay, hold on a second. Are you not familiar with the whole, like, his whole spiel was, I get no respect?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay, right. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't have, like, an adoration for him or anything is where I'm going. Not that I'm unfamiliar with him.
I actually, the Caddyshack, though, where they're in the club or where they're in the pro shop, and he's, let's just come with a bowl of soup. It looks good on you, though.
Yeah, it's amazing. He's incredible in Caddyshack. Like, there's not a word that I can't say a single bad word about his performance in that movie or in Back to School.
Yeah, he did some really good stuff. But anyway, Anthony Marcus, you got to look up Rodney Dangerfield. If you haven't seen Caddyshack, man, go do yourself that favor and watch that movie.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Fantastic.
Very good movie. Toronto Raptors. How about Malachi Flynn? It isn't all that often that you see one of those guys give you 7 stocks, go for a huge game as a value option, and then actually come back out and put up decent numbers again, Josh. 33 fantasy points on the second of a back-to-back against the Lakers the other day in a slow-paced game. I got to tell you, I know his price has come up to $4,700, but a couple things to consider here. One, he's not getting to the line very often. That is important to me. But he is playing big minutes. His usage is and I do think there is some risk for some ugly games here if the stocks aren't there and if his shots aren't getting knocked down because his shot volume isn't very high. But at the same time, I'm not really sure 4,700 is all that expensive for a guy playing this many minutes against the Bulls. You tell me.
Malachi Flynn is the number 1 contender on the DraftKings slate today, brother.
There it is.
I'm all over it.
Right. So he's come up $800, but he's still
$6K on FanDuel.
What's that?
He's $6K on FanDuel.
Yeah, but see that to me is pretty restrictive.
Yeah, that I have no interest in having. But 4,700 to me is the perfect value option. Won't change throughout the day. Like, the only news that would stop him from being an incredible value on DraftKings is either Lowry or Van Vliet somehow get ruled in or Malachi Flynn gets ruled out. So he's a fantastic play on DK, but I think Toronto might actually be the best team on the slate on DraftKings. Like, Siakam is a top 5 play to me on FanDuel at 8,700. You got to roster 2 power forwards. He shows up in the optimal lineup north of 30%, one of the best rates of the day. I've got Siakam at 20%, Flynn at 30, Anunoby at 17, Boucher at 11, Gary Trent at 11, DeAndre Bembry at 19%. Those 6 guys are making up a ton of optimal exposure on DK. I like the prices. I like the role. I like the minutes. I would have more Toronto than any other team on the slate. Chicago's defense is bad. It's not going to get any better with Nikola Vucevic manning the center spot. Toronto down multiple starters, plenty of minutes to be found. I personally love the idea of getting to a lot of Toronto. They look a little bit better on DK than FanDuel, but you're still getting to a bunch of these guys on FanDuel.
So Philip Adams, did you hear about this?
Philip Adams, former NFL player, just shot 6 people and killed 5 of them and then himself. Jeez. I don't know who that is.
Me neither.
Nuggets are signing Shaq Harrison. I like that for them.
Did you hear anything I just said?
Yeah, something about a guy I've never heard of shooting people. That happens every day.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to travel down this path with you. A former NFL star. Jeez.
Whoa. Star?
No, sorry, NFL. Not
That's what I'm
star.
saying. Like,
Wait, you don't know who you didn't know Phillip Adams?
should I?
I don't know. He was a star running back for like 10 years for the Atlanta Falcons. He had a 2,000 rush. He had a 2,000-yard rushing season, 20 touchdown season.
No.
No.
He has. First of all, he's a cornerback.
All right, let's move on.
Second of
anything
all,
else for Toronto?
he has 60 total tackles.
Do you have anything else for Toronto?
Yes, just play everybody. Play basically everybody. But Siakam and Malachi Flynn are unquestionably the top two options.
Okay. On DraftKings, Malachi Flynn.
Yes. I mean, I have Flynn in the optimal on FanDuel, even at 6K, 17% of the time. So I don't think that that's crazy either, but not nearly as important as it is on DK.
Got it. Okay. So Cleveland and OKC then. The Cleveland Cavaliers are 4-point favorites, 215 total. Allen and Larry Nance remain out for this one. So they've missed a handful of games at this point. Kevin Love has been sitting in that, low to mid 20s range. But it is interesting that in the 3 games he's played since the start of April, 20, 23, and 26 minutes. So is Bickerstaff actually looking to ramp up his minutes here and get him to 29 or 30 today? Well, that's a conversation worth having because his price is actually still somewhat affordable against an Oklahoma City Thunder team that's just outright disastrous.
Yeah, so I gave him 28 minutes. I'd be hard pressed to give him anything less than 26 since he's shown that he can play 26. And since Kevin Love is probably the only good basketball player on the entire Cleveland roster when Larry Nance is out, you would think you would want to play him more minutes. So I think 28 is reasonable. 5,600 on FanDuel, 5,800 on DraftKings. He's showing up in the optimal lineup about 15 to 20%. I think Kevin Love is the best play from Cleveland if you're assuming 28 minutes today. And it also wouldn't shock me if it were 30. Like, I think there's even more upside than 28. You would assume they want to get him back to playing. In the grand scheme of things, it's in Cleveland's best interest to show that Kevin Love can play 30 minutes to ever have an opportunity to actually trade him and not have to pay him out on the rest of this contract. With that said, I think there's more to like from Cleveland because that's what happens when you face an Oklahoma City team that probably doesn't have most of the real NBA players that they normally have. So I think Dean Wade, 4,500 and 4,600, very much in play. You can always play Colin Sexton and Darius Garland just because they are starters that play 35 minutes a game. Those guys are always functionally in play. I also think that you could take a little bit of a look at $4,100 Taurean Prince on DraftKings. He's $5,800 on FanDuel. For some reason, they're pricing him like he's on the Hawks 4 years ago. Doesn't really make a ton of sense to me there, but $4,100 for a guy that's playing about 28 minutes a game. Again, I think that's like a worthwhile endeavor. Sexton, Love, Garland, Wade, and Prince all showing up in the optimal like 10 to 15% of the time. That's a pretty high mark for a Cleveland team that's real. Like, I think they're the worst offense in basketball. Like, that's working out decently, I guess.
What do you make of Hartenstein's minutes last game? Played 27. Surely if Love played a few more, he might lose a couple. But yeah, he played 27 minutes. And while he did play in the fourth quarter, his rotation in the first half was actually pretty significant. He played 10, 11, 12, 13. He played like 14 minutes in the first half. Do you anticipate him getting similar minutes today? Because his price is actually pretty cheap.
I gave him 20 minutes.
Okay,
I don't really know where to go with those minutes. Like if the question then becomes, how much are they willing to play Isaiah Hartenstein and Kevin Love together? Because I'm assuming with Nance out and not having any other real centers, my expectation is that Kevin Love would be the starting center, play a starting level run, and Isaiah Hartenstein would be his backup to whatever minutes he doesn't play. If they're willing to play them together, that is interesting. You can give him another 2 or 4 minutes. He's 4K on FanDuel, 4,400 on DraftKings. That can make him a little bit more interesting. I just don't know how likely that really is. I'm trying to look at Popcorn Machine now just to see what that last rotation looked like. So let's think about it like this. They won by 25, I think.
Right. He came in to close out the game with about 5.5 minutes left is what we saw.
I don't think it's a likely scenario that if Kevin Love can play 26 minutes, Isaiah Hartenstein closes a close game over him.
Yeah, I don't see that being the case either. So taking 27 and probably chopping a few off the top of that makes sense.
Yeah.
It does. He's a solid per minute guy. It's just tough to predict what type of run he's going to get, especially because he's going to be directly affected by Kevin Love. And if Kevin Love, who has ramped up the activity a little bit on the floor, if he does end up playing maybe even 32, I'm not projecting him for that, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility after playing 20, then 23, then 26, that Kevin Love could be kind of far less restricted than he was. And then Hartenstein is the directly affected by that, not in a good way. So
it really just all comes down to how much you think they could possibly play together, because Kevin Love isn't going to suddenly play 16 minutes.
Right.
They're either stretching him out to be Kevin Love again, or he's not going to be on the floor at all. So I have a hard time thinking they play a ton alongside of each other. I don't know what you're trying to gain if you do that, particularly against Oklahoma City. I don't think like the Isaiah Hartenstein, Kevin Love 4-5 combo is the one that's going to be the lethal thing that runs the Thunder into the ground. So 28 minutes of Kevin Love looks like he's probably the best play on the Cavs today.
I'm with you, man. Let's talk about the Thunder then. We don't have legitimate injury news. We talked about this before the show because it's a second of a back-to-back and we don't have those reports yet, unless we've had something drop, but I don't believe we have anything quite yet. So as of now, the guys that were out yesterday were Baisley, were Roby, were Lou Dort. I'm not including SGA and Horford. They're just not playing, but Pokusevski also got banged up, said he's okay. So as of now, I'm just listing all of them as questionable. But it stands to reason that Pokusevski's in and those three guys remain out until we get any information going forward. But as of now, it's just expect what we got yesterday is what I would say.
Yeah, so I projected out the exact same rotation that I projected for yesterday's game. Right. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Like, I don't care what happens. We'll have the news one way or the other. The problem here is that these guys are ultra playable. Moses Brown's price on FanDuel is now down to 5,100. So he shows up in the optimal lineup 24% of the time for me. I think that he is one of the best plays on the slate.
What a huge disparity between DraftKings and FanDuel on that price point. That's one of the biggest ones you're going to find.
Yeah. At $1,500. Like, he's still playable on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, he can fall into just about anything there.
Yeah.
I've been playing a ton of Pokusevski as of late. I've been recommending him. He had a great game again last night. 5,500 on FanDuel, 5,800 on DraftKings. Even if these guys start to come back, like, he was playing 30 minutes when everybody was healthy. So I've got him in for 33 minutes. I think he is probably the best play overall for Oklahoma City. I think Svi Mikhailiuk, who did not have his price change on FanDuel, still 3,800, should play north of 30 minutes and become another high-owned value option at the shooting guard spot. I don't mind getting him for 5,600 on DraftKings, but that is clearly a terrible price. Kenrich Williams is 4,900, got the start, played big minutes again on FanDuel, another value option. Maladon played big minutes, another option. If Toronto isn't the team that I have the most of, Oklahoma City is going to be very close behind. It's just another situation where you're trying to get a ton of minutes, and against Cleveland, like, this game should stay close. Cleveland stinks. Oklahoma City stinks. I'm happy to get the guys that are going to play a ton of minutes at mid price tags.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. It doesn't feel good when you're talking about an Oklahoma City team that's just as bad as they are. But I like when they're playing against bad teams because these games are at least likely to stay competitive. And we've seen this so often recently where OKC just plays bad teams. Of course, they got smoked by Detroit. But yesterday, 11-point game. God, dude. So you look at have you seen some of these scores though recently?
Hasn't been great.
133-85 loss to Portland, 140-103 to Phoenix, 132-108 to Detroit. I mean, those are some brutal spreads right there, man.
Yeah, really bad. I mean, look, they're really bad. Like, no one that's on the floor for Oklahoma City to me is a legitimate NBA starter.
No, they're not. There's some decent rotational bench pieces, sure.
Yeah,
but no starters. No. Hey guys,
I mean, you can make a real case that no one that is active for Oklahoma City yesterday would play minutes on one of like the 3 or 4 best teams.
Yeah, for sure. I think you can make a very good argument for that. You could also make a good argument that we don't have nearly enough likes on this show.
Yeah, well, that's your fault.
take a second, hit that thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. The second part's the biggest, right? Subscribe, join this Awesemo family here. Hell, if you want, you don't have to. You can hit join and join as a member here over at the YouTube channel. But I don't really care as much about that as I do hitting that subscribe button, which is totally free. So you know when we drop new content all day, every day. And if you don't want to get notified, just don't hit the notification bell. If you want to, hit the notification bell. But otherwise, it's nice. You go on YouTube, and then if we're live, it'll be on your homepage. It'll be on your recommended page. It just makes it a lot easier to know when we're doing things. And it's not a nuisance either. So we appreciate that for sure. And Josh, I think we're almost at the end of the starting 9 promo run, which is something that if you haven't done yet, well, you're a lunatic. It's $9 for 9 days of all of our MLB content, ownership, player projections, top stack tool, greatest tool out there. You're not going to find a better tool. The top pitcher tool, the lineup builder, all of our premium articles, all the premium tools built by Awesemo himself. He's the #1 ranked DFS player for a reason, because he built tools that work and win people money. And that's why you see the Awesemo avatar up top the leaderboard so often. And it's not just him. Like, it's Tom, our CEO. You've had a recent $30,000 win. You know, we got Eddie. I always find it funny because Eddie's behind the scenes doing all the programming or developer stuff. But guy wins a ton of money playing DFS with these tools as well.
Yeah, he's ultra highly ranked. DeColts, Shanzan,
sure.
Like we've got quite the stable of pros at this point in time. Quite clearly the highest end stable of pros in the industry.
I would agree. And those guys jump in the premium Slack chat to answer your questions in office hours. Josh, I know you do that. Shanzan, I know Steve does that. Alex does it. Ben does it. Those guys in there taking your questions, helping you better your game. And we got a cool community as well. If you haven't done it yet, it's $9. Starting 9, all one word. I already know without looking on the screen that my guy Jordan Klein has it up there, making your life a lot easier. Awesemo.com/promos, right? If you do it that way, you don't even have to type the promo in. You just bing, bang, boom, click sign up now, and takes you to the promised land. Or if you want a free month of Awesemo Plus PGA, you'll buy one, get one free. Buy 1 month of PJ, get 1 month free using the promo code Dustin. It's all right there. Make the right choice. In all seriousness, though, join the family, join the community over at Awesemo. Hopefully we'll see you there. And be sure to join the premium Slack chat when you do. I can't tell you how many people miss out on that opportunity because they don't join the premium Slack chat when they sign up. Starting 9, all one word, $9 for 9 days. Boom.
By the way, we missed #8 overall ranked Rinpack in that list too.
Yeah, thank you. He's been crushing. He's been flying up the leaderboards for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. And he's mostly behind the scenes as well, outside of like a show or two. So yeah, you got to love it.
Slate Starter Podcast with Eric Lindquist, baby. Watch that every morning.
It's a good show. Someone, as a matter of fact, said in the comments yesterday that, like, I like these guys, but I'd rather listen to like the analysis from Rinpack and Eric. And I said, you know what? If you're someone that wants to get straight to the point with the facts, with the stats, check out the Slate Starter show. If you want to learn about the process of going through these lineups, check out Josh's process show. You want to hang out with us, get some good plays, and also, get off to a great start every morning, which why wouldn't you want to do that, Josh?
Right.
Watch the strategy show.
Absolutely.
Milwaukee, Dallas. Let's jump into this one with the Bucks as only 1 point favorites, but of course that's because Giannis Antetokounmpo is doubtful, 228 total, and no one should ever rely on Chris Middleton to carry a team because he stinks. I'm joking, but how much Chris Middleton are you going to have today? Last game, Giannis was out. He just ruined everyone's hopes and dreams. Hopefully we can rebound from this. Hopefully the newly minted monster contract of Drew Holiday can also put up a big game here. I think it should be a fun one. Do you like the Bucks as much as you normally would with Giannis out, would be the way to phrase this question.
Yeah, Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton are unquestionably 2 top 10 plays across both sites. I have Middleton in the optimal on FanDuel 38% of the time, 28% on DK. Both of those numbers are north of his current ownership, where he's in the 25 to 30 range. Same sort of story for Drew Holiday, basically 27% across both sites, only projected for 16% ownership on FanDuel and DK. So I actually like Drew Holiday more than I like Middleton, at least in terms of large field GPPs, but those guys are probably going to be in cash lineups for you. Then we've got Bobby Portis, who's a total question mark, 5,800 on FanDuel, 5,300 on DraftKings. If he starts, you probably want an absolute ton of him. We're projecting him for close to 30% ownership across both sites. That's a pretty big number. If he doesn't start, he's still likely to play, 20 to 22 minutes and be a really nice value, but it's a little bit different then. So you got to pay close attention to that Milwaukee lineup if you can. Middleton, Holiday, and Portis, though, are the very clear top three options. I think DiVincenzo looks okay. Nothing. He doesn't really see much of a bump when Giannis is out. Brook Lopez, similar story, doesn't really see any sort of rate change with Giannis out. So I think he's okay at 5K. He likely sees a couple extra minutes, and that's really the bigger piece for Brook Lopez. But Holiday and Middleton, play them as much as you want. It doesn't get much better than this.
No, it really doesn't. And as much shit as I talk on Chris Middleton, if Giannis is out, it becomes a lot easier. And it's not even that he's overpriced. It is funny, though, that Drew Holiday is more expensive than him on DraftKings. It's got to be the first time all season, Josh. Like over the past week.
Yeah, I can't see a scenario where it would have been flipped.
Right? Yeah, I mean, think about Drew Holiday was 6,300 10 games ago. Now he's 8,000.
Did you see the Middleton tweet that I retweeted yesterday?
I did not. Please elaborate.
With Giannis off the floor this season, Chris Middleton is averaging 28, 6, and 6 per 36 minutes. The only players doing that in the league are Giannis and Luka. He's got 50, 42, 89 shooting splits in that time.
Okay.
No one even probably knows that information, that's what's truly bonkers to me.
Not impressed.
Insane. You're the worst.
Do you have anything else from Milwaukee?
Not really. Just a lot of Middleton, a lot of Holiday, and I will probably be a little bit more pessimistic than the public on Portis until we find out if he's starting or not.
All right. I'm a big Bobby Portis fan because when he's on the floor, he's actually pretty damn good. Yeah. He's a well over a fantasy point per minute producer on the season. And we've seen him in a couple scenarios where Giannis was out, put up some really big games. I expect he would have every opportunity to do the same today. Does he need to play a ton of minutes? No, he probably, in all seriousness, won't play a ton of minutes. How many minutes would you need from Bobby Portis, though, to feel comfortable with his price point? Because two times Giannis was out, he was like 4,500, and that was as easy as a play as it got. Because even if Bobby Portis only played 23 minutes, I didn't care because 23 minutes from Bobby Portis is fine at 4,500. Now he's almost $1,000 more expensive at 5,300 than he was.
Yeah, I gave him 27 minutes. And to me, I think he's actually a little bit over-owned at that mark. But at the same time, he's still a really nice value. But if you're only getting like 22, 24 minutes out of Bobby Portis, he's going to show up dramatically over-owned.
But he's a good producer, but that you need more minutes from him there. We have him, the highest owned player on DraftKings right now? It's still so early in the day, but we have him at 31%.
Yeah, I don't think we get there unless we know he's starting.
Right. And there have been plenty of times where Giannis was out and he didn't start. So that's yet to be seen. What are your thoughts on Luka here?
So it's an interesting discussion. The ownership is already there. He's 38% owned on FanDuel. I 1,000% agree with it. He was my number one contender. 10-9 on DraftKings, projected for 25% ownership. I'm fine with it. I don't think that Porzingis doesn't normally play on a back-to-back, although, that could be a little bit different given yesterday's outcome. I did put Maxey back in, however. The thing with Luka today, and I pointed it out on the process show, and I'd like to at least touch on it a little bit here. I have Luka with the highest projection on the day, and I don't think that should be terribly shocking. I have him at 52.2 FanDuel points. The next closest projection is De'Aaron Fox at 45.2. So Luka is 7 points clear than every other player on the slate in terms of projections, at least to me. What that means is that if you just simply take him out, you are costing your optimal lineup a few points, actually. So while I don't think that he is like this incredible obvious play, because of the way he's set up relative to the rest of the slate, he becomes sort of the only pay up option that works. So I really like getting to Luka. And if more value opens up, it's just going to firm that stance up because of that gap. It's not separated that much in salary to make it a problem. So I'm going to be getting to like a really staggering amount of Luka Doncic on FanDuel today, and probably another decent amount on DraftKings. Only other guys that I'm really looking for here, Jalen Brunson's played 30 minutes over the past 3 games. I have him in for 30 here. 5,500 on FanDuel, 5,300 on DK, projected to get basically 0 ownership. He's a guy that I'd like to have in large field GPPs in like the 10% range. Maxey, if he plays, probably going a little underrepresented. That would be the only other place that I would really want to get to. Josh Richardson's just bad.
Yeah, he's not good at all. And there keep being days where he shows up with some ownership, but it doesn't work. Very seldom are you getting good spots, good games out of Josh Richardson. And I think even despite the lack of value to some extent, I'm not sure you need to go there. Phoenix and the Clippers, Phoenix Suns, man, overtime win against Utah. We were right, by the way. Heck of a game, huh?
Yeah.
Another great game. There's gonna be a lot of fun Western Conference playoff series this season, man. It's gonna be great.
Phoenix clinched the tiebreaker against Utah, by the way.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's still still a long ways to go, but they are playing great basketball. I started noticing this, like, I don't know, maybe a month ago, where you're watching them play and you're saying, this is not a fluke. And Phoenix is not fluky. And if you remember, what did they swept the 8-game bubble?
Yeah.
Right? They swept it and still didn't get in. They're a little bit different looking than they were before, but this team has a chip on their shoulder. But it's not even that. They're just good. Like, they are a good basketball team. How much do you attribute to Chris Paul coming in and changing the team and changing the culture to the Phoenix Suns?
You were still talking, and I was teeing up the fact that I was going to say that Chris Paul might be the most underrated player in basketball.
I think
ever.
It's a huge impact.
He's incredible. He's absolutely incredible. He does this everywhere he goes. The team becomes massively better. He stabilizes teams and just is simply, I mean, he is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, plus minus performers over the last 10 years. Outpacing other guys that you would think would be ahead of him. He just simply makes these teams better. And I'm honestly a little bit surprised. 2 things. One, they really messed up that draft pick. That is going to be a real problem. They had a chance to add an actual rotation piece to a team that is a legitimate finals contender, and they didn't do that. Secondly,
which pick?
They should have went to Halliburton.
Instead of?
Is it Jalen Smith? Whatever big man they took from Maryland. I think it's Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith, yeah.
That is a massive mistake for this team. However, we'll set that aside. I thought now was the time to make the move and try to see what was really out there to acquire at the deadline. This is a team that could probably use another guy because I don't know if they have enough in the holster to get through a double-studded team of Paul George and Kawhi or LeBron and AD. I think now would have been the time to cash in some assets if you could have, to see what was out there as a legitimate upgrade. Maybe that wasn't out there. Maybe they tried to do that. I don't know. But I have a hard time believing that it gets better than it is right now. Clearly, this team is young. Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Bridges. These guys are Cam Johnson. These guys are young.
Yeah.
But I think everything hinges on Chris Paul. And when you know that Chris Paul is healthy and having the season that he is having, I think now is the time that you should have unloaded some assets and tried to take that full step, because they are as live to win it right now as they will ever be. Because when Chris Paul starts taking a step down, there's no easy way to fix that.
No, there's not. And by the way,
he might not be there next year. Let's not forget that. He might not be a Phoenix Sun next year.
There's a very good chance he won't be. Yeah, I forgot Ayton was the 2018 draft. I keep thinking he was a 2019 draft. Yeah. But it's just remarkable to see that he went ahead of Bagley, which is, whatever, right? But then they both, Ayton and Bagley, went ahead of Doncic and Trae Young. Just think about that. If you're not kicking yourselves looking at that, like, even if you missed Doncic and you said, all right, fine, well, at least we got Trae Young. And
the Doncic one is a million times worse.
Of course.
But it was at the time.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Doncic is, of course, but you didn't get either. Like, you didn't even get the consolation prize.
Even if they had Trae Young right now, they wouldn't have Chris Paul and they wouldn't be this good.
No, they wouldn't, but they'd at least
if they had Luka Doncic, they might have Chris Paul and they would be this good.
They'd at least have a young
infinitely
team.
Better.
Do you like anything for Phoenix or the Clippers today?
No, not at all. Only Chris Paul at 9.2%. That's the highest mark I got in my optimal. He's at 10% ownership. So proper. Everything else looks bad. It's really just difficult. I mean, this is a great defensive game, not a fast-paced game. So I don't really like Phoenix. I think you can play a little bit of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. That is not news to anyone watching this show. And that's it. Play the starters, play the studs, but play them minimally.
Yep. And talking about the Portland and Utah Jazz. So, okay, 230 total in this game. Let me get that out of the way first. Portland, I think, an 8-point dog here. And the ownership, at least on DraftKings right now, some of it is going to Donnie Mitchell, a little bit to Rudy Gobert, a little bit to Jordan Clarkson. Where do we stand on the Utah Jazz today or the Portland Trailblazers? Feel free to take either side of this. And I guess we should be paying attention to the Yusuf Nurkic news. If he ends up sitting, Enes Kanter played 36 minutes last game against the Clippers, had 37.5 DraftKings points. Those are type of numbers I'm satisfied with, and his price point hasn't even come up at all.
Yeah, so the Nurkic news will be big. If he is out, Kanter's going to look like a really nice value at 5,800 and 6,100. I have Nurk in for right now, so that takes Kanter out of play for me, but it's a pretty easy fix if we get that news. Dame, unsurprisingly, is my favorite option here, 9,200 on FanDuel. I had him in the optimal lineup 25% of the time. He's only 18% owned. It feels like he hasn't been great as of late, but he's still been a 1.21 fantasy point per minute guy. He's 1.27 in my baseline rate, so he's not really like far off of his normal spot. And it's pretty easy to pay up to someone like Damian Lillard today. So I like getting to Dame. I like CJ a bit more on DraftKings where he's 7,800. I think that's a pretty nice price tag for a guy that's basically a 1.1 fantasy point per minute dude and gets his shots from time to time. Probably Utah's defense just a hair worse with no Mike Conley on the floor, or at least likely no Mike Conley on the floor. After that, though, maybe a little Covington is okay. Maybe a little Norm Powell is okay. But if I'm trying to say anything is a core option, Damian Lillard on FanDuel would be that.
All right. Another core option is jumping over to No House Advantage and checking out our wonderful sponsors app because it's sick. It's a peer-to-peer player prop betting app where you're getting it in a tournament style format. What do I mean by that? All right. So say you have 8 different props that you've selected. The ones you feel most confident about, you put at the top. They get the most points. The one you feel least confident about go at the bottom. So if you lose, doesn't matter. If you win, it doesn't matter. You're looking to hit the most important ones first. Get the ones you feel best about. And how do you do that? Well, we've got totally free tools at Awesemo.com. The Awesemo No House Advantage player prop tools, player prop projections, the Awesemo lineup tool, or the No House Advantage optimal lineup tool. All that's free. And if you use the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, when you download the app and sign up and deposit over at No House Advantage, you get a $20 match deposit bonus injected straight into your account. So many different reasons to play there. First of all, you want to build your bankroll. Build up the bankroll. Even if you want to move it somewhere afterwards, it doesn't matter. There's a way to win here. There's an edge. The lines can go stale. You can make sure if you're sharper than most to hit on them. You can check them out, compare them to other odds, compare them to other books. Use our player prop tool. Use our No House Advantage tool to exploit those odds because they don't change throughout the day on No House Advantage as they would on DraftKings if you're betting single props over there or on FanDuel. So really, you're parlaying 8 of them where you can't parlay props anywhere else. It's a tournament style, playing against the peers as you would on all of these other sites. And you're getting $20 free and you're getting free tools over at Awesemo.com to do it. So go to No House Advantage, download the app, use the promo code, get your 20, and use our tools to win some money today.
It's the best thing we've got going right now for a user. It will cost you absolutely nothing and you can get free money.
Yep, exactly. And free money is good, right? Yeah. And it's free money that you can turn into more money, which is even better, right? Let's wrap it up. Detroit and Sacramento. No Jeremy Grant today. This is kind of a big one, Josh. So Jeremy Grant is dealing with right knee soreness, otherwise known as tank. What?
I got to stop you. We got to talk about Utah.
Oh, did we not go through Utah yet? My fault.
No,
I saw the time and I started rushing. Go ahead.
I can be quick here. So
you're good.
Utah likely to be without Mike Conley. He doesn't really play back-to-backs. Donovan Mitchell then becomes the chalk play of the day on FanDuel at 7,800. fully warranted. He gets a monster assist bump, gets a little bit of a usage bump. So you're playing a ton of Donovan Mitchell. And then every one of the other guys that play a lot just look incrementally better, whether that's Gobert, Ingles, Clarkson, Boyan, Royce O'Neal. All of them are now, they go from guys that you never want to play to guys that you can slightly play more. They're all about 10 percenters now instead of being 5 percenters like they normally are. I would prefer Gobert more than anybody else on both sites. His ownership is already there. Ownership is already there for Clarkson and Boyan, and I think that's totally fine. But Donovan Mitchell on FanDuel and on DraftKings is the clear best option because he completely changes his outlook as a player.
One of the favorite guys, is it one of your favorite players on the slate?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't remember where he ended up ranking on FanDuel, but somewhere in the top 3 or 4.
And Money Twan, I have no fucking clue what you're talking about, dude, at all, whatsoever. I have no clue what you're talking about. I answer chat all show long.
Can you imagine thinking that we have any idea what someone's race is from a YouTube handle?
Yeah, or the fact that we hit 50,000 subscribers and changed. Oh, we're at 53.4 now. Give me a break, man. I love all of our viewers. I've said it a million times. I try and treat them with the utmost respect, and most of them know that.
Like, I have no idea if cock cake is a man, a woman, gender, race, any of it. I have no idea.
Nope, no idea. We love all of you guys. Just, be nice to us. Hey, Josh, what are we doing with this final game? I can't look at that and just let it go. I don't have it in me. You know what I mean?
I didn't know if you saw it. I laughed at it while you were doing the no house advantage read.
I can't be called that. Detroit and Sacramento, no Jeremy Grant. How big of a deal is this for them today?
Very big.
Terrible defense.
Very big. So I think Josh Jackson on FanDuel is the clear best option for the Pistons at 4,400. Although his minutes could be anywhere from 22 to 34, and I wouldn't know. Their rotation is a real problem. I have no idea who's playing more often than not. So the best that we can do is just kind of get the guys that should be okay. Josh Jackson on FanDuel at 4,400 isn't going to hurt you. You could probably play him if Jeremy Grant were in. That makes him more appealing now. Mason Plumlee, 6,200 on FanDuel, 5,900 on DraftKings. I think he looks really good. They end up running a lot of the offense through Mason Plumlee when Jeremy Grant isn't on the floor. He becomes like Russell Westbrook's assist rate in these scenarios. So yeah, I like getting to a little bit of Plumlee. I think Isaiah Stewart for 3,700 because he's a power forward on FanDuel is viable as a value option. If something happens to Plumlee, Isaiah Stewart benefits directly. So don't play them together. Then on the DK side, we've got Jackson, Plumlee, Bay, and Killian Hayes all in like the 15-ish% ownership rate. And I agree with that. I like Josh Jackson the most on DraftKings at 4,700. I think Plumlee and Bay are pretty comparable. And even $3,200 Killian Hayes, if he plays 25 minutes, that price tag makes him a really nice value. So it's tough to get away from Detroit. Sacramento is like the worst defense in the league. This is a great spot.
That's the thing. And Jordan, I'm sorry. I know we're late here, but I'm just running it up to 11, dude. I have to. Sorry. With Killian Hayes, though, I think if you could make that argument for Killian Hayes, that I can make the same argument probably for Corey Joseph because he's actually been productive. I guess is 5 additional minutes for Killian Hayes worthwhile, or would you rather take a couple less from Corey Joseph or just not play any of them?
I gave him 7 additional minutes. So in that case,
oh, well, that's
yes.
a little different then. Okay.
I have Killian Hayes at 25. I have Corey Joseph at 18. But like, who the hell knows what?
No, you don't.
Frank Jackson, Dennis Smith Jr., Corey. Like, I don't know what any of these guys are going to do.
Me neither. Top plays from Detroit.
Josh Jackson, clear number 1. Isaiah Stewart on FanDuel is my number 2. Plumlee, Bay, and Hayes all look really similar on DK.
All right. Would you say in context to the slate they are top options too? At least the top.
Josh Jackson is a top 10 play on both sides tonight.
All right, Josh, wrap us up. We got to go, but we've got the Kings here.
I got it. Play De'Aaron Fox no matter what. Only play the starters, Fox, Holmes, Halliburton, Barnes, and Hield. But Fox is on a different tier. The rest of those guys all look pretty similar, and they sometimes go under-owned, and this is a great spot because the Pistons are bad.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. Top options from the Kings?
De'Aaron Fox at the top. Holmes would be 2.
Okay, love it. That'll do it. Thank you. That was quick and concise, Josh. Appreciate you guys hanging out. As always, hit that thumbs up and subscribe before you go. Just know, We love the Awesemo community here, but they already knew that, man. There's nothing to suggest otherwise. We'll see you back here soon. Stick around. Plenty of shows coming up throughout the day. Check out Josh's Contenders video and the Process Show if you missed it. MLB Strategy Show coming up next. This is the Strategy Show presented by No House Advantage. Thanks, guys.